There is a silence that lives inside many of us, a quiet ache, an invisible scar, an emptiness we cannot name, but feel. It echoes in the softest parts of our lives, in our longing for love, in our fear of rejection, in the way we contort ourselves just to be accepted. And though we rarely speak of it, it shapes everything: how we see ourselves, how we treat our partners, how we parent our children, and how we survive our own reflection in the mirror. It is ancient. It is sacred. It is hurting. This is what we call the mother wound. At the Unseen Psyche, we explore what hides in the shadow, what society refuses to face. Today, we invite you into the most vulnerable chamber of the soul, where love was first learned or first withheld. We are taught to revere mothers as saints, flawless, endlessly nurturing, the sacred givers of life. And yes, motherhood can be holy, but mythology is not the same as reality. And when the ideal of the perfect mother is imposed on the living, fallible human being, what happens to the child who didn't feel loved? What happens to the adult who still aches? The mother's wound is not always the result of malice or abuse. It can be born in quiet households and families that look perfect from the outside. It's not just what your mother did, it's what she couldn't do, the love she couldn't give, the tenderness she never received herself, the emotional vocabulary she didn't possess. It is the generational silence that passed from womb to womb. For some, the wound was violent, physical, verbal, even sexual abuse. These are active mother wounds, loud, obvious, shattering. But more often, the wound is subtle. She was there, but not really. She cared, but with conditions. She gave, but only if you pleased her. She smiled, but only if you performed. She listened, but never truly heard. You grew up in a house, but never felt at home. This wound is not easy to see because it becomes the water we swim in. We don't recognize it as unnatural because it was all we ever knew. It shows up later in life, disguised as low self-worth, perfectionism, fear of intimacy, people-pleasing, addiction, emotional numbness, or an unshakable belief that we are not lovable unless we perform. We begin to live lives of adaptation, not authenticity, and we call it adulthood. So how do we begin to untangle this wound? First, we name it, because a wound that is not named will rule your life in silence. You will bleed invisibly. You will recreate the pain in every relationship and call it fate. You will treat yourself the way your mother treated you and believe it is normal. We must face the terrifying truth that some of us were not loved in the way we needed. And that doesn't make us ungrateful, it makes us honest. Jung once wrote, "The greatest burden a child must bear is the unlived life of the parent." When a mother is cut off from her own emotions, her own truth, her own soul, she cannot meet you and yours. She sees not you, but a projection of her unmet needs. You are no longer a child. You become a mirror, a caretaker, a symbol of her pain. This is not about blame. It is about truth. Healing the mother's wound is not about confronting your mother. It's about confronting the parts of you that still serve her voice, still live for her gaze, still wait for her love. Healing means reclaiming the pieces of you that went into hiding just to belong. To begin, we must enter the body, because the mother's wound is not just emotional, it is somatic. It lives in your chest when you say yes, but want to scream no. It lives in your gut when you feel unsafe in love. It lives in your throat when your truth rises, but your voice silences it. The body remembers what the mind was taught to forget. Therapy, somatic work, inner child healing, these are not trends. They are sacred revolutions. They are the unspooling of inherited trauma, the unwinding of emotional DNA. Begin with this. Find a quiet space. Place your hand on your heart. Close your eyes. Say, I was not mothered in the way I needed, but I see you now, little one. I will never abandon you again. And then feel. Let the tears rise. Let the grief speak. Grief is not weakness. It is the doorway to freedom. Write the letter. Pour out every word you never got to say. The pain, the rage, the hunger, the longing. Burn it, bury it, keep it. It doesn't matter. What matters is the release. Because what you do not express, you will continue to enact. Many people fear confronting this wound because they don't want to disrespect their mother. But hear this. Truth does not dishonor. It is liberating. You can hold compassion and accountability in the same breath. She did her best. Yes. You still carry pain. Also, yes. These are not contradictions. They are truths that coexist. If we do not heal, we pass this wound forward. We become mothers and fathers who parent from fear, who loves conditionally, who silence emotions because emotions were once dangerous. The cycle continues until someone breaks it. You are that someone. You are the breaker of chains, the one who turns toward the wound, not away, the one who says, this ends with me. And let us be clear, healing is not linear. You may revisit the wound again and again, in dreams, it triggers, in relationships. But each time you return, you come back with more strength, more awareness, more love. Carl Jung taught us that healing requires integration, bringing the unconscious into consciousness. The mother's wound lives in the unconscious. It is a shadow, but shadows only grow stronger when ignored. When brought to light, they transform. So ask yourself, what parts of me did I abandon to gain love? Whose approval do I still seek in everything I do? What does my inner child still long to hear? And most importantly, am I willing to mother myself now in the way I always needed? Self-mothering is not a trend. It is a sacred act of repair. It is sitting with yourself when you feel afraid. It is saying, I love you, not because you earned it, but because you exist. It is nourishing yourself, body, mind, and soul. Over time, you will feel the shift. You will say no without guilt. You will rest without shame. You will cry without apology. You will walk away from people who cannot meet your depth. And you will realize, I am no longer waiting to be chosen. I have chosen myself. This is the essence of liberation. At the Unseen Psyche, we do not offer quick fixes. We offer depth. We walk with you into the shadows, not to get lost, but to find the light that was buried. If this message stirred your soul, I invite you to join us, subscribe, share, and breathe this truth into your life. You are not broken. You are healing. You are returning to the place where love lives within you, and the child inside is finally being held.